es CICE de la Fuerza Aérea Brasileña, representado por el teniente primero Bruno Enríquez Matos, desarrollando su exposición sobre PESE, Programa Estratégico de Sistemas Espaciales, aplicaciones brasileñas de teledetección de la Tierra y capacidades planificadas. El mencionado oficial de la Fuerza Aérea Brasileña tiene una licenciatura en Ingeniería Aeroespacial del Instituto de Tecnología Aeronáutica, ITA. Trabaja como analista de sistemas espaciales en la Comisión del Sistema Espacial CICE, del Departamento de Ciencia y Tecnología Aeroespacial de la Fuerza Aérea Brasileña, y actualmente forma parte del equipo directivo del proyecto Carponis 1, el primer sistema brasileño de espacio óptico de alta resolución. Le damos la bienvenida.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Before I start, on behalf of the Brazilian Air Force Command, I'd like to salute all authorities attending this event. I also would like to thank all CONIDA's team for preparing and hosting this important event. Brazilian Air Force has been attending this event from the first edition, and I can say that we always go home very impressive and very inspired by PeruSAT's success. Today, I'm going to talk about our Space System Strategic Program. I'm going to focus more in the remote sensing applications and our planned capabilities. So, as you can see, PESE contains three segments: the space segment, the launch segment, and the ground segment. For the space segment, we have different types of projects for different types of missions, including Earth observation and communications. In the launch segments, we have our National Launch Vehicle Development Program, and we also have 2 launch sites. For the ground segment, which is responsible to support all the space missions, we can count on 2 space control centers, one in Brasilia and another one in Rio de Janeiro. Before we jump into the Earth observation part of my presentation, which is the focus of my presentation here, I'd like to quickly cover our SGDC-1 operations and its capacity. And then I'm going to share with you some very good news about our launch sites, Alcântara Space Center. And then I go to the Earth observation part of my presentation. So the SGDC-1 is a geostationary communication satellite. It's a high-throughput SAT. It was manufactured by Thales Alenia Space and was launched in 2017. It's expected to last until 2035, so 18 years of lifetime. As you can see, SGDC-1, it's a dual-use satellite. It's used by the civilians and also by the militaries. We share the capacity with the satellite with Telebras. It's a state-owned company in Brazil. They are responsible to operate the Ka band. As you can see there, we have a multi-beam coverage in Brazil. In total, we have a capacity of 51 gigabits per second. So it's a very capable set. The military, they operate the X band, which has that coverage on the right side. So we have a national beam that covers our national territory, the borders, and the coast. We also have a very wide beam that covers the entire South America, the North Atlantic, and the South Atlantic. Let's move into Alcântara Space Center. So here we have a very nice picture taken from our launch complex in Alcântara. This launch complex was designed to support our national launch vehicles, during the VLS programs and now the VLM program. Well, I'd like to share with you that recently we had signed on a technology safeguard agreement with US, and it's got finally approved by the Congress. That was a very important milestone in the history of this launch site, because now we can say that's finally open to become an international spaceport. With this TSA agreement signed, we can consider launch commercial satellites from Alcantara using international launch vehicles that contains American-made components or satellites that contain American-made components. So it's a very great opportunity to all to use this facility. And I will show now why Alcantara is so great to launch satellites from. So first of all, it has a very good geographic position. As you can see that we are very close to the equator line, which gives us a very good advantage to launch to low inclination orbits like geostationary orbits. Launching from that we can reduce the necessity to correct the orbital plane, so we can save fuel and launch more capacity. As you can see in that triangle, it's our azimuth-free range. So with that, we have the flexibility to from Alcantara launch to any commercial orbit. So using one infrastructure, one pad, you can access equatorial orbits, all to sun-synchronous orbit with subpolar one. We also have a very good install and operational facilities there. So clean rooms, facilities to integrate your launch vehicle, to prepare your payload. We also have there. We have a very good exclusive runway with 2.6 kilometers of length. And another important fact about Alcantara that matches the necessity for responsive launches is that we have a very low air traffic over this region, which allow us to launch more than 100 launches in a year, which is not the case, for example, for all the 3 launch sites presented in US. Okay, so let's jump to the Earth observation part of my presentation. We have 2 projects. One is Scarpones, one is optical set, and other one is Lessonia, which is a radar set. But first of all, why does Brazil need Earth observation satellites after all? As you can see in this image, Brazil is a very huge country. In fact, Brazil is the 5th biggest country in the world. It has 8.5 million kilometers of territorial area. We have borders with all South America countries except 2, Chile and Ecuador. Our borders has a length of approximately 17,000 kilometers, which is almost halfway around the globe. Besides that, we have that yellow area that you can see, our coast area. We have the rights of explore this area, so fishing and oil exploration is under control of the Brazilian administration. Just to have a sense, in this yellow area, we have what we call the pre-salt layer, which is one of the biggest oil reserve in the world. More than 50 billion barrels of oil is inside this area. And we have that yellow area, which by international agreements, Brazil is responsible to control and to conduct search and rescue operations. So if anything happens with a ship or an airplane in this area, Brazil needs to to search and rescue. So we have a lot of challenges. Besides that, we also focus on efficiency and productivity growth in different areas in Brazil, like food production, urban planning, market intelligence, energy, mining. And besides that, we also are concerned about protect lives and our natural resources. So sad events like oil spill, illegal deforestation, wildfires, and tragic events, we have to deal with them. And without Earth observation data, it's quite impossible to have good results. That last one that we mentioned, emergency management, was a very tragic event that happened in Brazil in January of this year. A mining dam collapsed in one of our states, and approximately 250 people were killed in this event. We use Earth observation data to assess the damage of this event and also to plan for the searching and rescue activities. I'd like to share with you, along this kind of idea, a recent national survey that the Brazilian Space Agency conducted, where we're gonna see the view of the main experts in Earth observation in Brazil. This survey has with 44 public institutions participating, 23 universities and 3 companies. This survey is a very good view of the civilian demands for Brazil. I'm going to show to you some very interesting results. So in this graph here, we can see what are the main activities that today use satellite imagery. So as you can see, environmental management, cartography, mapping, studies and research, agriculture, livestock, soil use and cover, energy sector. They are among us. They are the main activities that use this kind of data. Another very interesting result from this survey is in this graph. The experts were asked about what they need to fulfill the necessity of their activities, and they point mainly to the lack of high spatial resolution imagery and also SAR imagery. Okay, so let's go and see what Brazil already accomplished in the space sector for the Earth observation part. We currently operate CBERS 4. This satellite was launched in 2014. It was expected to last only 3 years, but still operational today. It was a part of a partnership between Brazil and China. It has 4 different cameras, so it's a very big set, a 2-tone set. It has 4 cameras, as you can see the specs of the image in this slide. It's higher resolution camera, it's the pan camera. It has a resolution of 5 meters with a swath of 60 kilometers. In the next month, we're gonna have the CBERS 4A into the space. It's an enhanced version of the CBERS 4. It's gonna have 3 different cameras, being the WPM, a new camera with a higher resolution, 2 meters and 92 kilometers swath. But as you can see, we still lack of high resolution imagery from our own satellite. And here it comes, Carponis 1 project. Carponis 1 project is a project that we are working to become a reality in the next years. We plan to have the RFP, the request for proposal documentation, released to the market in the next year. The minimum requirements for these satellites it's going to be a submetric set. So in the PEN channel, we expect to have a GST of less than 1 meter. In the multispectral channel, it contains RGB and near infrared less than 4 meter. A swath bigger than 7 kilometers. A lifetime bigger than 5 years. In a revisit time of an average of 3 days, considering a field of regard of 30 degrees. And we also expect to have stereoscopy capacity for this set. Okay, just to have a sense of what kind of improvement we are expecting from this satellite in terms of resolution and image quality. Here we have an image from our CBERS 4 satellite. That's the best camera that CBERS 4 has, a 5 meter resolution. With Carponis 1, we expected to have that kind of image quality. So with that, we can have more reconnaissance capacity and conduct a lot of applications that are currently not fulfilled by this kind of satellite, medium and low resolution. But let me answer why high resolution matters after all. What's the difference between a medium and a high? The next slides show us a very interesting comparison between a medium and high. This medium resolution imagery were taken by a very known company, that's Planet Lab. It operates a 3U set, a very small set, with a telescope of 9 centimeters in aperture. So that's the difference with a high resolution set. That's a metric set actually, Deimos 2. So it has a 42 centimeters of aperture. So as you can see, there are a lot of difference. We can recognize a lot of characteristics on the ground. Another example here, in a runway, a medium resolution to a high resolution. So we also are concerning about not only GSD, but the contrast. The contrast makes a lot of difference in terms of image quality. And it comes essentially, one of the main drivers for contrast and image quality is the size of the telescope. Here we can see a very interesting image from a boneyard, an aircraft boneyard in Tucson, US. We have a lot of types of aircrafts on the ground, so we can try to recognize them with different types of image quality. That's the Planet Labs 3.5 meter resolution. That's a metric resolution. As you can see, we can more easily recognize the aircraft on the ground, and that's a very important capacity and capability. Another example here, we have we expected to have with Carponis 1, our first high resolution optical set, this kind of capability to identify by change detection illegal mining activity happening in our territory. The second image on the right, you can see that with this kind of image, we can detect trucks on the ground. In this case, a trucking park lot for illegal logging activity. So this kind of geospatial intelligence is really important for us. But as you can see on the left image, it's an image taken of Brazil. Brazil in some seasons has a lot of clouds, and as any passive sensor optical sets have a weakness, which is clouds or smoke or other obstacles on the atmosphere. So in the PESE program, we also plan to have in the middle term a radar satellite to fulfill entire this necessity of Earth remote sensing in high resolution. In these last slides, I like to share with you an example of application of a radar set. So as you can see in this image, in this red square, we can already see, how can I point on? We can already detect some straight lines in this area. And as you know, God doesn't make straight lines, so that straight lines is a human activity happening on the ground. But unfortunately, this illegal activity was not detected at this time. So in day 8, we already see, you can see, we already see some logging activities happening in this area. And 4 weeks later, we can detect that a deforestation happened in this area. So that kind of technology, which is a radar one, is really important because it doesn't depend of the weather conditions, of the atmospheric conditions. And we also plan to have this kind of capability in the future. So that's all that I have today. So thank you very much. And here you have my contact if you want to stay in touch. Thank you very much.